Hello, everybody, and welcome to ShareNet. My name is Yazan, and today we're going to be talking about employment for people with disabilities. Joining us, we have Louise. How are you doing today, Louise?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do here at RCD?
Yeah, hi. I'm the SIL coordinator here at the Richmond Center for Disability, and SIL stands for Supports for Independent Living. As I mentioned, it relates to our employment programs, which includes resources for career development, active job seeking, resources for community participation for those that maybe just want to get a little bit more involved in their community, volunteering. And then most recently, we've been offering a course called In Motion and Momentum Plus, which I'll tell you about a little bit more a little bit later in our meeting.
Right, that's something I am very curious about because I am from Ontario and I don't know a lot of information about employment for people with disabilities. So, can you tell us a little bit about employment for people in in disabilities in BC?
Well, sure. On the upside, I can point out to you that for the last number of years now, I believe this is the third annual month that the city, year that the province has designated September as Employment Month in BC for people with disabilities. And so one of the initiatives that they began, 10 years ago now, was to by 2024 make BC the most inclusive place and accessible place in Canada. And that extended not only to employment, but that's one of the goals, but also to housing and transportation, etc. So as I mentioned, there have been a number of larger companies that have been involved in that initiative from an employment perspective, two being, for example, Van City and also then Vancouver, YVR, Vancouver International Airport.
Right, and are you able to share with us some of the stats pertaining to employment and people with disabilities
I
in BC?
can. And stats are a bit of an interesting thing. I'm going to share a bit with you. Some provincial stat, but also some federal ones. Concerning BC, based on the 2012 census, there was said to be 334,000 individuals who identified as a person with a disability who were ready and willing and able to work. And it classified disability from mild to severe. And so it's impossible to know exactly where everybody falls in that continuum, but that is a good chunk of people.
Yes, I definitely agree. And so those stats, they show improvement, but at the same time, I feel like there are some challenges in the way. And are you able to tell us some of the challenges that have been faced with?
Yes, I can. I can speak to the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, typically classifications, if you will, are made from mild to severe. And it's probably no surprise that as a person's level of disability increases, their employment goes down. So at this point, this was looking at the most recent statistics. You were looking at compared to persons without disability, someone with mild to moderate disability was 76% likely to be employed versus 80% against his non-disabled peer. And among those who would be identified as having a more severe disability, and I have a sneaking suspicion, having lived with a disability all of my life, that the most of us that we think of coming here at the center probably would fall under that category. And so the numbers are lower, They are looking at 31% versus that higher number for persons without disability. So, and here's a statistic that I could relate to simply because I am probably in this age group. Just 3 out of 10 persons aged 55 to 64 are employed with a disability. So it is excellent. There are people with disabilities. There are employers that are keen to hire people with disabilities. There are programs, which I'll tell you about shortly. But there's a little bit of room yet to grow in that. Another stat that I came across was that despite higher education levels, persons with disabilities are still more likely to be unemployed versus employed.
So, Louise, what are you doing here at RCD specifically to help people with disabilities with employment?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm SIL coordinator. So SIL includes our resources for career development, where I actively assist you in your resume writing, your cover letter, your connecting with employers, helping you through that interview process, and hopefully getting you to the finish line of a job. It also includes resources for community participation, which is intended for those that might be more interested in, for example, volunteer experience, to be able to get those references for when you're actively job seeking, building skills, or who decide that employment isn't really for them. Most recently, we've been involved with a program called In Motion and Momentum Plus. We will be running a new course of it, a new run of it in September, and we welcome hearing from people with disabilities who might be interested. It's a pre-employment program that gives you a chance to really take a close look at your strengths, your interests, your passions, your transferable skills, and learning skills for setting out steps toward your preferred future. So it will begin, as I said, in September. It will run for 3 days a week. For September, it's an all-day commitment from 10 to 4. And in October, it will be 4 days a week. And in end of November, early December, it becomes 1 day a week. That seems long and arduous, but you find out that in that you develop a real strength of the group that you take with you onward. So do hope you'll consider joining us, and you can contact myself or my colleague Dina here at the Center for more information.
Right, and finally, can you share with us some of the success stories that you've seen here at RCD?
Yeah, I'm happy to. This comes, first of all, from my work not only with the recent IM&M course, but also with the SIL program. So recently, after participating in IM&M, I had a gentleman begin a job at a local radio station. I had, as one of my SIL participants, a young lady who has come back to me through the years for a variety of things, starting out with part-time jobs while she was going to school, and then in and out of other opportunities. So that's the beautiful thing, is the door's always open. And now she's going to be starting as a special needs assistant at the North Van School Board. I've had a gentleman that got a job as a cashier at a local grocer, and a woman that got a job caring for the pets in a pet store. I also had a gentleman who got a job working at a siding company, who's now moved on to something else after that. So commonly, when one finds a job, it doesn't always necessarily mean it ends there. Sometimes it does, but sometimes that opens the door for something else.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Louise, for joining us. That was very informative. And now we're going to be wrapping it up. Thank you everybody for watching, and tune into the other videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys later.